Hi everybody, Adam here. It's been a very long time since I've made a video. Um, for a long time I was making YouTube videos and I didn't really have any clue what I was doing. It was a learning experience. Um, that said, I've decided that I kind of want to try and get back into YouTube a little bit more lately. Basically kind of restart the channel, take things in a different direction. This time with a different format, kind of longer videos, focusing more on Q&A from basically anyone who wants to know stuff. So of course, if you have any questions, if you have anything that you think that you'd be interested in hearing me talk about, don't hesitate to follow me on Twitter, send me a tweet, send me a DM. Don't hesitate to leave a comment saying that I suck, of course, as always, or just that there's something that you want to hear from me, whatever. But basically, focusing more on Q&A, focusing more on sort of diving a little bit deeper and longer into specific major topics, instead of just sort of doing those short form videos that I was doing before, where I would just sort of talk, and it was kind of less scripted, and I didn't have as much direction in terms of what I was doing. I'll be trying to release one video a week, each week on the weekends. Part of the reason that I'm doing a format like this, I would like to sort of do this format where, you've got a little bit of video of me, but we're focusing more on, what's going on the screen over here. The reason for that is twofold. One is that it allows me to focus on things like, hey, what am I showing you this week? What sort of like article do I want to dig into? What studies do I want to show you? Whatever. At the same time, I think that a problem that we have in the fitness industry is that everything is one of two things. It's either people showing off their physiques and how jacked they are, or it's people showing off, them doing lifts and kind of showing off kind of how much weight they can move, or, what kind of goofy lifts they're doing, or whatever. And I don't think that that's, smart. Obviously, you shouldn't just listen to the biggest, strongest, most jacked people in the room. They definitely have, experience, and they definitely have a lot of perspective because they've been going through it for years. But realistically, at the same time, a lot of dudes who get super big, and, women who succeed in their fitness goals, and of course everyone else, they're not necessarily the people who actually know the most about fitness. Sometimes they're just sort of the people who have accidentally stumbled upon sort of a semi-workable solution, and they have really good genetics, and maybe they're willing to take a little bit of, assistance in the form of drugs. And the end result is that they look super good, but their advice is not great. And so very often their content that they make, particularly on YouTube, on Instagram, whatever, is very visual, and it appeals visually. It's great. It's awesome to look at, all these people who are super strong and have all these great physiques. But it doesn't actually make for good teaching. It doesn't teach people things. And when they do try to teach people things, oftentimes they're trying to sell people things at the same time. Or they're not even trying to teach people things. They're just trying to sell supplements, or, to sell whatever crappy fitness program they have or whatever. Okay, sorry about that. So I had a quick interruption there. So as I was saying, basically, trying to shift focus away from sort of normal fitness industry content where it's just, where it's just like people showing off, and a lot more sort of style than substance, I guess you could say. And sort of the flip side of that is like part of the reason that I kind of want to do this format where I'm, talking in a smaller box is that I'm an awkward person. I don't like looking directly at cameras all the time. It feels awkward. It feels weird. At the same time, B, like even the amount of like sort of just BS that I get, on the internet whenever I post stuff, where, like basically, I did a bulk and I, got a little bit of fat in the neck region, and everyone was like, "Oh, you got fat." Or basically like whenever I post a lifting video and I do a squat, and everyone's like, "Oh, well, your form sucks" or whatever, and it's like, no, I have to lift this way because I actually know my body, and I've been doing this for over a decade. Um, so like, realistically, like I'm jacked. I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna I'm in pretty decent shape. Like, sure, I'm not like the next Arnold Schwarzenegger, but like I know what I'm doing. I'm in decent shape, and I don't want to front and center, just sort of putting myself on display for judgment, because I just don't like, that's just BS that I don't want to put up with. Um, trying again, focus less away from, more away from focusing on just like appearance, and focusing more on just talking about the nitty gritty, on the actual theory and the details and how stuff works. Another thing is basically just that I've been a lot busier now. It used to be that, focusing on online coaching was my only job, and I was doing pretty well, and, it was taking up a lot of my time. But then I got my day job. Currently, I'm doing game design for a video game company that makes mobile games. So part of the problem is just that I now also have a full-time job, and I don't have the amount of time that I had before. When I used to put out 5 YouTube videos a week, or like 2 blog posts, and like some social media stuff, or, whatever. I just don't have the time to do that sort of thing anymore. And once you don't have the time, you also sort of lose that momentum. So I haven't posted anything on the blog in a while, even though sometimes I've had time, but just because I know that if I like make one post every like 6 months or whatever, like no one's going to care. That's not, so part of it was that this, doing something for YouTube is a little bit easier. It takes up a little bit less of my time. It's a little bit quicker to get through, to edit, to post. It shifts the focus, hopefully, a little bit more away from client work. I would like to try and set up, ways to make money or to monetize that don't rely just on doing client work, because that takes up a lot of my time. And it also means that I've kind of wanted to shift focus away from just talking about fitness. This is something that started happening in my blog kind of around, around end of last year, when I was, when I first got this new job. And I was still sort of in the thick of blogging all the time, was that I stopped writing about fitness because I got so bored of talking and writing about fitness. Ultimately, there's only so much stuff to say in fitness. There's only so many times that you can say the same things over and over again, and it gets a little bit frustrating. Ultimately, it really, really does. So I would like to also branch out a bit, talk about more topics that I have been into lately. Philosophy, as many know or don't know, I have a philosophy degree. Tech, game design, personal finance is something that I've been getting into a lot lately. Branching out into other topics because I'm just so dang bored of talking about fitness all the time. So of course, this is kind of the new push to get the channel started, to get it moving in the right direction. So I'm going to say this, the terrible thing that every YouTuber says, which is, of course, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Let me know if you have questions that you would like to have covered in the next episode. Basically just hit me up, because every little thing that you can do will help me build this channel and get it off the ground, and build some momentum and keep it moving, and bring better quality information to the YouTube space, to the fitness world. Okay, so basically, to start off, there are a couple things that I already got from friends. I made a tweet, not that long ago. I said, hey, what fitness topics are y'all interested in hearing me talk about for 30 to 45 minutes straight? So I got quite a few responses. I'm going to read through some of them, and I will, give you guys my thoughts. Okay, so basically the format I'm going to follow for Q&A stuff is that I will always, take a screenshot of the question. I will show it here on the screen for you guys to see. But I'm also going to remove identifying features of whoever posted it. So, stuff like your handle, stuff like your picture, if it is, a picture of your face or whatever. I'm going to remove that just so that we're not giving people unwanted attention. So we will dive into this right away. So the first one is working out for fun when your body image / self-esteem isn't great. Your post about eating more than usual during Christmas has been the most reassuring thing I've ever read. So kind of this is really, I guess, two different questions. And the second one is, the Christmas post that I made a while back is basically that's a topic for a whole other video. Like I'm going to make a whole video about the eating during Christmas topic. So, be on the lookout for that one because that's definitely a really good piece of material. The first one, working out for fun when your body image self-esteem isn't great. This one is actually a little bit like I very often feel like I am not qualified to talk on this topic, and I'll admit that because admittedly, I don't struggle with body image the way that many people do, and I haven't ever struggled with body image the way that many people do. I have struggled with my body image plenty, but I don't have the same, it's like apples and oranges. It's not the same kind of thing because it has never been a problem for me to go into the gym and to work out. Many people I know do struggle to get into the gym, and that is because the gym is maybe not the most welcoming space. I know that is, like anathema. I know that like dudes will be like, oh, you just got to suck it up and get to the gym. What are you, some kind of special snowflake or, whatever. That stuff is, it's so silly because the truth is that many gyms are not welcoming environments, and people really do need support to get started. There's a really good sort of concept that a guy named Dick Talons sort of first taught me about and that I think about a lot, which is about feedback loops in fitness. So everyone, a feedback loop is when you have something where the output of something is fed right back into the input of that thing so that it sort of amplifies itself and gets bigger over time. The most simple way is if you put a microphone next to a speaker, then the microphone, the sound goes into the microphone, it goes in the machine, it gets amplified, comes out louder on the speaker, and then it goes back into the microphone and it just gets louder and louder and louder until very quickly you're just blowing out your speakers. The same thing happens when you put two phones together or whatever. So the thing is that your early experiences get amplified. So you can have a very, very terrible first experience at the gym, and that may be enough to just throw you off it forever. Like if you go to a gym for like a month and you just have terrible experiences all the time and everyone's kind of a little bit rude to you and you don't really know what you're doing and you feel really intimidated, like you're going to drop out. Like that's just, that is what it is. And for many people, the gym does not help them get those first good experiences. And then, in contrast, when people do have good experiences, that, maybe they have an awesome first month, they feel awesome, they feel like they're getting stronger, they feel like they're making progress, they kind of know what they're doing, and people are helping them. And so very quickly, they really enjoy this, and then they continue coming, and then they enjoy it some more, and then they continue coming. And soon they're in this habit, and they really, really, really like working out, and they're going to keep doing it until some big thing in their life throws them off. So part of the problem with that is that, gyms kind of a little bit understand this, and this is why they try and pitch people into personal training right away, is because they know that if they get you on personal training when you come in right in the door, you're way more likely to succeed because you have somebody who is going to guide you, who's going to help you make sure that that first month is going to be the best first month possible, which is, you know, like compared to someone who just walks in and they don't know what they're doing and they sort of maybe hop on a treadmill a little bit, you know, it just sucks because they don't know what they're doing, they feel like crap, and they're just going to end up going home. So one thing that helps a ton is to have a personal trainer, to have someone to go with, if not a personal trainer, some kind of support system, because that support system is going to help make sure that that initial experience is going to be as positive as possible. It helps to have a plan. It helps to know what you're doing, even if you don't know what you're doing, even if you just get a program off of the internet, having something to follow gives you that, you know, a little bit of guidance that will help you at the very least not feel like a total idiot when you're trying to do stuff. And there's just so many options. There's so many things you can do in the gym. Like, of course, of course it would be terrifying for, you know, basically anybody who doesn't know what they're doing. You know, in terms of, you know, sort of just, okay, your body image isn't great. You know, like, yes, you're going to struggle being around other people in the gym who, you know, maybe you feel look a lot better than you do and feel like they know what's up. If you can find a way to go to the gym when there are not so many other people around, for example, some gyms are 24-hour gyms. So if you can come during the off hours, you know, typically gyms are most packed right after work in the evening. So, you know, about 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe 8 p.m. Those are going to be the times when sort of the most people are in there. There's also going to be a little bit of a rush, you know, sort of in the early morning. People, you know, those absurd people who are trying to get in their workouts before they go to their job. You know, don't be one of those people. But basically, you know, in the middle of the day and sort of late at night tend to be the times when gyms are a bit less packed and there are less people around and you know, worry about it less. Obviously, that's not always feasible for everybody. I've always been a person who liked working out late at night. I've always, you know, gone in, you know, 9, 10, 11 p.m. to get a workout in if I feel like it, because then you get the gym all yourself. You don't have to worry about anybody, and that's awesome. If, you know, even that, if that's not practical for you, or if there's not, you know, a good time or a good option for you in your area, I highly recommend, you know, just investing a little bit of money in, you know, some dumbbells and a weight bench for your house. It's actually way cheaper than you might expect, and it's going to pay off huge in the long run. And you can get in a workout, you know, at your home without having to worry about basically anybody judging you or, you know, worrying about sort of the, you know, the big brother all-seeing eye of the gym. Typically, you know, a pair of quick change dumbbells for your house will run you, you know, a few $100, and, you know, a bench might run you, you know, maybe 50 or $100, you know, which is a little bit more of an upfront investment than a gym membership for most people. But realistically, a gym membership, even a very cheap membership, will run you at least like $400 a year or something like that. It could be more like $1,200 a year if you live in a major city. So, you know, if you're spending, you know, $300, $400 on a home gym setup that is going to save you, you know, at least a year's worth of gym membership money, then it's, you know, absolutely worth it, and they'll be right there in your home. Of course, you need to also have the space, which, you know, in the modern environment, so many of us are living in apartments where we have no space, so that kind of sucks. So, you know, yes, some people don't have space as well. If you absolutely have no space, no other options, I would say buy a TRX. TRX is basically, it's kind of a system, like a strap system that you sort of hang from your door or whatever. And it allows you to do a lot of body weight exercises with assistance, or it allows you to add a lot of resistance to body weight exercises in ways that you can't do by yourself. So if you are just looking for a really basic, minimal cost, takes up almost no space, I would say something like a TRX, maybe some resistance bands, maybe a pull-up bar for your house. Those are the things that are super cheap, relatively, and will get you a lot of bang for your buck. You can, basically get TRX bands for like maybe $75. You can get some resistance bands for, I don't know, 20 or something. I don't know what a pull-up bar is going for these days, but basically this is all relatively cheap stuff, and that you can use in your own home with very little space, and set up a good routine and get working from there. So the thing I would recommend is working from home. Working out from home is way less stressful, and I've found this as well when I had like a squat rack in my house, in my garage at my old house, because it's just like you can really, it's your space, like it's your zone. You can listen to whatever music you want. You can do whatever you want. No one's going to judge you. That to me has been sort of the best thing for managing self-esteem and dealing with other people. At the same time, of course, that isn't necessarily an option for everyone. But it's what you can do. And again, if you, the listener, have any better ideas, hit me up, give me some ideas. I'd love to sort of start a discussion about this, because realistically, I don't know. I don't really know. So on to the next question. Exercising while recovering from injuries that undo progress. So this one is, I have to first start off again with a disclaimer on this one that I am not a physiotherapist. It would be a little bit out of my scope of practice to give very specific advice about injuries. So sort of the default advice that I have to give in this situation is go talk to a physiotherapist, go talk to a doctor, go talk to someone who can give you a more specific plan about how to do this sort of thing. At the same time, I can give you very general advice, and again, double check this with a physiotherapist. Get an actual plan from a physiotherapist before starting. But this is kind of the general advice in terms of just sort of what I've found has worked over the years. Typically, when you're coming back from an injury, you may have aches or pains, or, say you hurt your knee, you need to be a little bit more careful about protecting that knee. So you want to try and find ways, ultimately, to do the same exercises that you used to do in ways that do not cause pain, or that do not exacerbate the existing injury. So very often what that means is that you have to use lighter weights, you have to focus on more reps, you have to focus a little bit more on the endurance end of things. You need to build back up to sort of your former strength a little bit more slowly. And you need to be more aware of your body and be more ready to say, just, stop. If you're, say that you've hurt your knee and you're doing a squat, and say you can handle 50 pounds where you used to be able to handle 400 pounds. Maybe this isn't, this isn't the most realistic picture for everybody, but, say that's the case. Say you've had 1/8 of your former strength and you're really, really frustrated about that and you wish you could push it harder, but 50 is what you can handle right now. And then say you dial it up to 70 and you discover that it's causing pain, that it's making you feel weird, that you don't like it. Then again, you need to be smart enough to say, okay, 70 is too much right now. I need to drop back. Because ultimately that is, you don't want to get yourself hurt more. Sort of one of the biggest predictors of injury is if you've had a past injury at the same location. Because what happens is that most people, they have that injury, and then before they're fully recovered, they push it harder, or they sort of just, overestimate their body's abilities after an injury, and they make things worse. So you need to take things slower. You need to be a lot more cautious, but you do actually want to focus on building back up that strength, because if you don't do that, what happens is that that's actually going to worsen your recovery. Your recovery is going to take a lot longer. excuse me, there's basically like a lot of, research about sort of recovery is both a physical and a mental process. If you are scared of using a particular movement, of using your muscles and your body in a particular way, it's going to take longer to recover from, because that brain that you have is going to create more pain, or it's going to create more blockers to that process of recovery. And as a result, you are going to recover more slowly. So you need to remember that your body is actually a pretty resilient thing. It does recover over time. You do need to continually stimulate it to get it to grow as fast as possible and to recover as fast as possible. But at the same time, you do need to be careful about it. And so it's a very fine line. It's sort of this balancing act between finding, an amount that pushes you just a little bit so that you are growing optimally, so that you are recovering optimally. But at the same time, you need to make sure that you are not pushing it too hard. And again, that can mean lowering the weight, doing more reps. It can mean changing the exercise. So maybe, it used to be that you trained your legs with a squat, but now you need to focus on something like a leg extension or a leg press machine, simply because a squat is something your knees can't handle, whereas a machine, your body may be able to handle a little bit better. So again, check it out with a physiotherapist. Get a more specific plan from a physiotherapist. But that's sort of the basic overview of how things would go. All right, so on to the next question. Form and lifting for noobs, adaptive modes for disabilities, cardio, and same at your average gym. Demystifying fitness in a culture that hammers the public with extremely disordered and biased perceptions. So that's kind of three different questions. So form and lifting for noobs. Ultimately, I can't, the format of this video is not to talk to you about, it's not to show you videos of lifting form. So the only thing that I can say about that is check YouTube. There are so many videos out there of so many different kinds of lifts. And so, there's almost no lift that you can't find a solid video for where some meathead is demonstrating it to you. That being said, some of those videos are a bit toxic. Some of those videos are, a little bit, because whatever, it's the fitness industry. That kind of sucks. But ultimately, YouTube is like such a resource for that sort of thing. You can generally find something. The next one is adaptive modes for disabilities. So, that is another topic that I think deserves a whole ass video all by itself. Again, like I've written actually pretty significantly on this topic in the past, and it was really well received. There are a lot of ways for people with disabilities to work around that and to actually, get a serious good workout, while still sort of adapting their workouts to manage their disabilities. At the same time, again, that's a huge, huge topic. I would rather cover that on its own. Cardio, I'm not sure if this is basically saying, form for cardio, or, basically sort of an optimal way to adapt cardio for disabilities. That one, again, adapting for disability, we'll fit that into, another video. I'm not sure if form for cardio is something that really matters a ton. Like it kind of does at elite levels, but I don't really think it's something that you should worry about in a general sense. Demystifying fitness in a culture that hammers the public with extremely distorted, biased perceptions. That's what I'm here to do. Like that is the whole point of this channel, hopefully. At the same time, that's a lifelong process. It's not something that I can do in a day. So, thank you for, sort of giving me this prompt, because it reminds me, what I'm here to do, what we're here for. All right, so next one is body image confidence issues and overcoming them. I, again, kind of talked about that in the beginning of this video. I would love to start more of a discussion about this, so hit me up with some more ideas, what you guys think about, what we should do about that sort of stuff. How to get the most out of your workouts if you are working full-time and can't always go 4 or even 3 times a week. Oh, and also how to build a solid program, as in how many exercises, sets, reps, what muscle groups to work together, or if that even matters. So program design is a whole ass topic that, again, deserves its own video. I will hit that up in its own video. How to get the most out of your workouts if you're working full-time and can't always go 4 or even 3 times a week. So that is a really good question, because that's sort of the, that's the thing everyone is always looking for, because the reality is that while there are plenty of people who can put a lot of time into working out, there are also plenty of people who really cannot fit it into their daily schedule. Maybe they work long hours. I know, like, one of my clients is a construction worker, so sometimes he's just way too like nuked to do any of his workouts. So sort of how to get the most out of your workouts if you have a very limited amount of time to work out. So the first piece of news is that there is actually, the good news is that there is actually a lot that you can get out of a very short workout, or even just 1 or 2 workouts a week. And the reason for that is due to what we would call diminishing returns. So diminishing returns basically is that in order to build, say I have a 100-pound squat and I want to get to a 200-pound squat. That might take you a few months. Say you want to go from a 200-pound squat to a 300-pound squat. That might take you a few years. Say that you wanted to go from a 300-pound to a 400-pound squat. That might take you a decade or more. Basically, the more time that you put into training a specific quality, the closer you are going to get to your sort of natural limits, whatever those are. They're kind of like not imaginary, but they're sort of, a moving target. They're kind of messy, whatever they are. But the closer you sort of get to whatever your theoretical limit is, the harder it's going to get to squeeze out a little bit more of that potential, the harder it's going to get to continue, pressing onwards. And that applies in a general sense over a long period of time in terms of, say, again, like, improving your squat as, getting your squat as high as you can or whatever. But it also applies just to the amount of time that you put per week into working out. Basically, when you look at sort of, if you were to look at sort of a graph of what, basically, like, let's say each set, let's say that you do a certain number of sets for your squat each week. If you look at it, basically that very first set is going to have a huge, effect relative to 0. Because that's going to be, a huge stimulus that your body is not prepared for. It's going to, have a huge effect. But then with each additional set, the value of that additional set is going to go down. And you're going to get to a point eventually where the benefit from doing an additional set is 0 or even possibly negative. And the reason for that is basically just that the more work that you do, the more tired out your body is going to get, the less able, it's going to be able to do more work. And so you can get to a point where, you might try and do more, but you're too weak to finish a rep or too weak to finish a set. And then, maybe you hurt yourself because you strained yourself a little bit more. And then, of course, that that causes an injury. And then, that's actually made things a lot worse, and it takes a long time to recover from. There's a benefit in a certain way to sticking to just, 1 or 2, just a few sets per week, because those are the sets that you get the most bang for your buck out of. You get the most effect out of those first couple sets. And then there's, rapid diminishing returns after that. So basically, if you had literally 0 time, what I would say is the best thing you'd want to do is you'd want to hit up just 1 or 2 full body workouts each week. So you would want to do basically all your major lifts in a single workout, and you would focus on all your major body parts. And, if it's like 2 times a week, then you don't have to worry about recovery. You don't have to worry about perfectly organizing your training days, because you're probably going to have at least a few days to rest in between, that and your next workout. If you're only working out 2 days a week, you'll probably have about 3 days on average. So you can just hit, a workout, a full body workout twice a week, every 3 days or so. And that is going to, it's going to build a sort of a baseline level of fitness, which is awesome, which is still going to put you, sort of way ahead of a lot of people who just don't do any working out at all. Now, is that going to be sort of the ticket to becoming the most jacked person in the world? Obviously not, because when you are trying to be the biggest, strongest, best person in the world, you have to sink into that diminishing returns. You have to get deeper into that. You have to push further. Even though you're not getting as much out of further sets, you need to keep pushing yourself. You need to keep raising your limits and going further. So yes, it's not, a great, doing a minimalist style workout like that is not a great option if you are looking to be the best you can possibly be, if you're looking for performance. But if you're just looking to find a way to get a baseline level of fitness that is going to, get the most out of, sort of your time in the gym, get the most out of getting benefits in terms of, basically keeping you strong and healthy for the rest of your life, like, yeah, awesome. Just work out once or twice a week and just do it regularly and just don't worry about it. Like, awesome. Do full body workouts, focus on major movements, skip the light accessory, don't do bicep curls. That would be a waste of your time if you don't have that much time. And if, you just want to focus on the big stuff, get in some cardio, get in all your lifts, get out, pretty easy, honestly. Yeah, so that is an awesome option to sort of minimize the amount of time that you want to spend in the gym while still getting decent results. All right, so the next one is what to do if the squat rack is not available. This one sucks. This one sucks, man, because I'll tell you, I spent a lot of my time in the gym just waiting for a squat rack. So the good news is there are things you can do about it. I myself have been using what I call a more flexible workout routine approach. So basically what I will do is I will, I have my workouts for the week, and I have sort of 4, workouts where it's like, this is sort of the major barbell work that you need to do, and that stuff doesn't move around. But then there's lots of lighter accessory work, and you can sort of move that around as you want. So the way I do things is that very often, if I don't have a squat rack available, if I can't get a barbell available, I will just swap in some other lighter exercise that I can do that's not going to impact, whatever barbell exercise I'm waiting to do. And then I will just do that later after I've done this exercise. The next, hopefully, a barbell is freed up by the time that I'm done doing whatever exercise. Or if not, I could potentially add in another exercise. So, it's something like, if I'm waiting for a squat rack and I've got to do bicep curls for the week, well, realistically, my bicep curls are not going to impact, if I do some bicep curls, it might tire me out a little bit. It might tire my biceps out a little bit, but it's probably not going to affect my squat very much. So, I can hit up some bicep curls while I'm waiting for the squat rack, wait a little bit. Maybe the squat rack's open now. Now I can get in some squats. I do work out at a commercial gym. It is very busy. Sometimes I am waiting quite a while for some things. So it is useful to have strategies for dealing with that. That being said, sometimes it just sucks. Sometimes I have had times where I don't have a good option for, swapping something else in. And so I'm just sitting around literally waiting for a squat rack. Like I'm sitting there on my phone. And, I will say also that one thing that I do recommend is do ask somebody like, hey, how many sets you got left? Can I get this next? Realistically, most people are not going to be assholes to you about that. I think that a lot of people are like super passive aggressive about not wanting to talk to people in the gym. And so they don't want to, approach the guy in the squat rack and be like, hey man, how's it going? Can I get it next? Because I am a fan of saying that, we should be less passive aggressive at the gym. We should be more willing to talk to people, to actually go up and make that connection and just be like, hey, even though you are intimidated, just be like, hey, can I get this next? And very often, even if they do have a lot of sets, left, you might be able to work out something where the two of you alternate. You know, sometimes I know from speaking from personal experience, sometimes, you know, like I'll be on the bench or whatever, and someone will come up to me and they'll say like, how many sets do you have left? And the answer is like 2 or 3, but I'll say 1 because, like, you know, mentally I'm like, oh, you know, like, you know, I don't really need to do extra sets. I could just get out of here and do those sets later. So, like, you know, realistically, sometimes when someone asks you, that puts that pressure on you to say, like, oh, yeah, actually, someone is waiting for this. I need to sort of speed things up, or I need to sort of abbreviate things a little bit. So sometimes the act of asking does make people faster, which is a good thing. So, so do ask people. And, you know, lastly, if you're really just sitting around waiting for a squat rack, you know, 10, 15, 20 minutes, you know, just use your phone, I guess, man. Just sit around, watch some Netflix. I don't know. I don't know. And I'll always recommend, of course, if you have the money, you know, home gyms are awesome. If you have the money, if you have a garage that you can put a squat rack in, squat racks, again, cost less than you think and can save you a lot of money over time if you buy equipment versus going to the gym. So, yeah, what to do if the squat rack is not available. Tough crap, but here we are. Last question, love. I'm not really qualified to talk about this topic either, so sorry, dear commenter. I love you. Thank you for contributing to my little show here, but ultimately, sorry, this is not a topic that I can talk for very long about. So that is really all the Q&A that I had today to get through. I think that's really about it for today. So what I'm going to say is, as always, like, comment, subscribe, tell me what you want to see next week. I've certainly got some ideas for major topics lined up, but I am always happy to throw in some Q&A as people respond to things. So this is the first episode of the new format. Hopefully this will stick around. Hopefully this will become a more regular thing. And I realize that my cat has been sort of in the background sometimes, so you know, maybe if you haven't noticed, you know, go back through the video, find my cat sitting behind me back here. She's wonderful. Hopefully she'll feature in some of the videos as well. So, as always, have a good one, and I will see you guys next week.